Crash course in romance. It was one of those days. The kind where the sky looked like it hadn't slept either, hanging heavy and gray over the city. The kind where every step felt slower, heavier, like your life was soaked through before the rain even touched you. Kang Min-jae stood at the crosswalk with his umbrella flipping inside out, a laptop bag threatening to slide off his shoulder, and a very small boy in a yellow raincoat tugging at his sleeve. "Appa," the boy said seriously, "if the rain keeps falling like this, will we need a boat?" Min-jae exhaled more of a laugh than a sigh. "I don't know, Do-yoon. But if we do, you're paddling." "I'm tired." The boy grinned, revealing a missing tooth. "Can I name the boat Shark Attack?" Min-jae muttered, "We're naming it Sanity, and it's already sinking." The cafe was warm. Too warm, maybe, or maybe he was just wet and cranky and had been surviving on instant noodles and broken sleep for a week. He guided Do-yoon to a corner table and ordered the cheapest latte on the menu. As he waited, he spotted it stuck crookedly on a bulletin board near the pickup counter. A flyer. Water-warped. Barely holding on with one lone thumbtack. Private tutor available. For gifted children. Patient, professional, and passionate about learning. Rates negotiable. Flexible hours. Lee Hyun-woo. Min-jae stared at the name for a second longer than he should have. It sounded familiar, but not quite. Like a word you used to know the meaning of. Or a dream you forgot on purpose. Do-yoon, meanwhile, had already started drawing a shark on the back of a napkin. With fangs. In sunglasses. Min-jae tore off the number. That night, after tucking his son in bed, Min-jae sat at the edge of his couch with the flyer in one hand and his phone in the other. He wasn't the kind of person who reached out first. He never had been. He preferred quiet, stability, the kind of life where nothing unexpected knocked on your door. But lately, he felt like he was barely keeping up. Like his son was sprinting forward with a mind too quick for the world and Min-jae was dragging behind, afraid he wouldn't be enough. So, before he could talk himself out of it, he tapped the number and hit call. The voice that answered was low. Calm. Gentle. "This is Hyun-woo. Hi. I saw your ad," Min-jae said, suddenly awkward. "I'm Kang Min-jae. My son, he's 6. Kinda. Brilliant, apparently. But I'm not. Brilliant, I mean. So. We could use help." There was a pause. Then a soft chuckle. "I'm available this weekend. I could come by Saturday." Min-jae cleared his throat. "That works. Around 3. 3 is perfect. Text me your address. I'll see you then." After he hung up, Min-jae sat in silence for a moment. There was something about that voice. It stirred a memory. A hallway. A classroom window. The soft rustle of a notebook being shut, and a boy who never smiled but always listened. "Hyun-woo," he murmured. Then shook his head. No way, it was that Hyun-woo. Right, Saturday. 2:58 p.m. The apartment was quiet, unusually so. Kang Min-jae had cleaned it 3 times. The couch cushions were fluffed within an inch of their lives. Do-yoon was dressed like a polite child in a checkered shirt, and Min-jae had made tea for a tutor. He didn't know why he was nervous. It was just a man. A stranger. A professional. He probably wore glasses and carried a clipboard. He'd probably be boring and efficient, maybe a little awkward, and then he'd leave. So why was Min-jae pacing like it was a first date? Doorbell rings. Min-jae took a breath, opened the door, and time, stuttered. The man standing there was nothing like he expected. He wore a dark green knit sweater over a crisp white shirt, black slacks, and glasses with slim silver frames. His hair was longer now, not messy, just softer, more deliberate. And his expression was calm, almost distant. He looked up from his phone and spoke. "Hello. I'm Lee Hyun-woo. You must be Do-yoon's father." His voice was the same. Low. Smooth. Careful. Min-jae's heart stopped. It was him. High school came rushing back. The cold hallways. The scent of chalk. The boy who always sat by the window, solving equations no one else understood. The one Min-jae had watched for 3 years without ever knowing how to talk to him. Until, one rainy afternoon, he had. "I think I like you," he blurted, red-faced and shaking. Hyun-woo had stared at him then, eyes unreadable. "I don't know how to answer that," he said softly. And that was it. They graduated. They vanished from each other's lives. Until now. Min-jae cleared his throat. "You're Lee Hyun-woo." The man tilted his head, studying him. His eyes narrowed not unkindly, just curious. "Kang Min-jae." There was a pause. Not awkward, just full. Of recognition. Of memory. "I didn't think you'd remember me," Min-jae said. Hyun-woo gave a small smile, barely there, but real. "I remember everything." Do-yoon came skidding out from the hallway just in time to break the moment. "Are you the genius?" he asked brightly. "Appa said you're super smart. Like a calculator with legs." Hyun-woo blinked. Then smiled more fully. "I'm not that smart," he said, kneeling down. "But I'm good at explaining things. Want to give it a try?" Do-yoon nodded with enthusiasm and dragged him toward the dining table. Min-jae stood frozen in the doorway, heart still unsteady. What were the odds of all the tutors in the city? Fate had brought him back. Or maybe not fate. Maybe unfinished business. It became a routine. Every Tuesday and Saturday, at exactly 5 p.m., Lee Hyun-woo rang the doorbell with a polite knock and a folder under his arm. Do-yoon would greet him like a golden retriever in sneakers, dragging him to the table with excited chatter and math puzzles. And Kang Min-jae, he lingered nearby. Pretending to tidy. Pretending to cook. Pretending not to stare. There was something strange about seeing a piece of your past sitting in your present. Hyun-woo looked so composed now. More grown up, sure, but still quiet. Still precise. Still gentle. He explained things slowly, patiently. He never mocked or sighed when Do-yoon got distracted. He used chopsticks to illustrate probability and arranged gummy bears in graphs. Do-yoon called it magic school. And honestly, Min-jae was starting to agree. One evening, Hyun-woo stayed later than usual. It had rained again, of course. The sky outside bruised with clouds. His umbrella was broken. And the bus was delayed. "Stay for dinner," Min-jae said before he could overthink it. "There's too much food anyway." "Leftovers." Hyun-woo blinked. Hesitated. Then nodded. "If it's not a burden." They ate at the small kitchen table, the kind with only 2 proper chairs and a stool with a wobble. Do-yoon had already passed out on the couch, a half-colored worksheet stuck to his cheek. For the first few minutes, it was silent. Just the clink of spoons and the low hum of the fridge. Min-jae finally asked, "So, What made you want to teach? Hyunwoo stirred his rice. I like helping people make sense of things. Especially kids. They don't pretend to understand when they don't. Min-jae laughed softly. Yeah, well. Do-yoon pretends. But only when he's trying to impress someone. Hyunwoo glanced up. His eyes met Min-jae's quiet. Then. I'm glad he's like you. Min-jae froze. What do you mean? You cared. Back then. You were the first person who saw me. When no one else did. It hit like déjà vu. The table. The rain. The words. Memories uncurled from where they'd been buried for years. That hallway. That confession. That boy who never gave him an answer. Min-jae looked away, swallowing. I thought, maybe you forgot. I didn't. A pause. I regretted not answering you properly. The words hung there. Between leftover rice bowls and two grown men who had once been scared boys. Min-jae didn't say anything. Couldn't he? But in the quiet hum of the apartment, something shifted. Not loudly. Not suddenly. Just, softly. Like the first pull of a thread. It started with thunder. Not loud at first, just a low rumble rolling over the city like a warning. But by 6 p.m., the sky cracked open. Rain came down in sheets, soaking streets, blurring car lights, and drumming hard against Min-jae's window panes. Hyunwoo was supposed to leave an hour ago. But the storm had other plans. Do-yoon was curled up in bed already half asleep, lulled by the sound of the rain and the stories Hyunwoo had read in a soft, steady voice. And Min-jae, well, he was standing in the kitchen holding 2 mugs of tea, staring at the man who had once been the boy he couldn't forget. They sat on the floor in front of the coffee table, legs crossed, the lights dimmed low. The tea was lukewarm. The air smelled faintly of tangerines and wet pavement. Outside, the storm pressed against the windows like a secret trying to get in. Min-jae finally spoke. I used to wonder what would be happened if you'd said something back. Hyunwoo looked at him, eyes steady behind silver-framed glasses. I wanted to, he said quietly. Min-jae laughed, almost bitter. Then why didn't you? Because I didn't know what it meant yet. What I was feeling. What it meant to like someone. To like you. There was silence. But not empty silence. Not cold. Just full. Like a breath held between two hearts. Min-jae exhaled. And now? Hyunwoo set his cup down. He didn't look away. Now I know I've thought about you more times than I can count. And that I still remember the way your voice cracked when you said my name that day. Min-jae froze. Hyunwoo's voice was low. Not urgent. Not begging. Just, real. I didn't forget you, Min-jae. I just wasn't ready to be someone who could love you back. A beat. Then too. Min-jae blinked, eyes burning, chest full of something too big to name. He laughed soft, surprised. Hyunwoo, he murmured, you really know how to ruin a rainy night. Hyunwoo tilted his head. Did I? And Min-jae shook his head slowly. No. You saved it? Outside, thunder rumbled again. But this time, it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like permission. Some things shift loudly with slamming doors or raised voices. Others they shift in silence. Like a glance held a second too long. A touch that almost happens. A breath that never becomes a word. After the storm, Min-jae thought things might go back to how they were. Just tutoring sessions. Just polite smiles. Just quiet evenings with Do-yoon's laughter filling the gaps. But nothing felt the same. Not really. Not after the confession whispered between 2 mugs of tea. Not after Hyun-woo had looked at him like that. Now, every time Hyun-woo stepped inside the apartment, Min-jae's chest tightened not with discomfort, but with wanting. It was in the way Hyun-woo took off his shoes neatly by the door. The way he rolled up his sleeves before opening a workbook. The way his eyes sometimes softened when Min-jae wasn't looking directly at him but felt it anyway. One evening, Do-yoon had fallen asleep early again, snoring softly under a blanket fort of his own design. Min-jae and Hyun-woo sat across from each other on the floor, their knees barely brushing under the table. Hyun-woo was explaining some educational theory, maybe, or a study technique. Min-jae wasn't really listening. Because the only thing he could focus on was Hyun-woo's lips. How they moved. How close they were. How much he wanted to lean forward. Hyun-woo must have felt it too. Because suddenly, his voice faltered. He looked up. Min-jae didn't move. Neither of them did. The silence stretched fragile, electric. A pause before something irreversible. And then, Do-yoon shifted in the next room. A soft cough. A sleepy murmur. And the spell broke. Min-jae blinked. Looked away. Cleared his throat. I should check on him. Hyun-woo nodded once, too quickly. Right. Yeah. Later, when Hyun-woo stood to leave, he paused by the door. He didn't say goodbye right away. Didn't smile like usual. Just looked at Min-jae for a long, quiet moment like he wanted to say something, but couldn't. Or maybe shouldn't. Min-jae opened the door. Good night, he said softly. Hyun-woo nodded. Good night, Min-jae. And the door clicked shut. Not like an ending. But like a promise left waiting. It was supposed to be a lazy Sunday. Do-yoon was digging through the hallway closet for his old science kit, the one with the volcano that always exploded too early. Instead, he found a box. Dusty. Taped shut. Unlabeled. And just like every curious kid, he opened it. Inside were photos, notebooks, movie stubs, a jumble of Min-jae's high school life, long forgotten. And right on top, a photograph. 2 boys in school uniforms, sitting on a bench. One smiling, eyes crinkled, grin too wide. The other looking off to the side, barely smiling at all. Still, they looked close. The kind of close that only happens when silence feels safe between you. Do-yoon trotted into the living room, photo in hand. Appa. Who's this? Is that you? Min-jae, half asleep on the couch, sat up fast. Too fast. His eyes locked on the photo, and something in his expression stumbled. Then he looked past it. To Hyun-woo, who had just walked in. Their eyes met. Hyun-woo stopped mid-step. He didn't even need to see the photo to know. He knew. Is this your best friend? Do-yoon asked innocently. Hyun-woo walked over slowly. Looked down at the photo in Do-yoon's hand. His voice, when it came, was soft. That was a long time ago. Do-yoon tilted his head. Did you fight? You look sad in the picture. Min-jae gave a weak laugh. No, we didn't fight. We just didn't say everything we should have. Hyun-woo looked at him. Not sharply. Not accusingly. Just waiting. Min-jae looked back. And for once, He didn't look away. It was easier to pretend it didn't mean anything, Min-jae said, more to himself than anyone else. Back then, it was easier to bury it in a box and move on. He took the photo gently from Do-yoon's hands. Brushed a thumb over it. But maybe I shouldn't have. Do-yoon blinked between them. Wait, are you saying you liked each other? Hyunwoo smiled faintly. It's a little more complicated than that. Do-yoon squinted. Oh. So you super liked each other. Min-jae choked on his laugh. And just like that the tension broke. But the truth had been said. No lightning. No thunder. Just a quiet truth dusted off like an old memory. And this time, neither of them tried to put it back in the box. It started with a worksheet. Do-yoon had found one online called Get to Know Your Favorite Person, a cutesy quiz with questions like, what's their favorite color? What's their weirdest habit? Would they rather kiss in the rain or hold hands in public? He had printed 3 copies. Let's do it together. He beamed. It'll be fun. Min-jae laughed and played along. Hyunwoo looked mildly amused, taking the quiz with the same concentration he gave calculus problems. Do-yoon read the questions out loud. Okay. Number 12. Who do you think would be their ideal type? Hyunwoo didn't answer right away. He glanced at Min-jae. Then back at his paper. Then down again. And he wrote something. Do-yoon peeked. Wait, you wrote that fast for someone who took forever with number 9. Who's your ideal type, Mr. Lee? Hyunwoo didn't look up. Someone brave. Oh, Do-yoon said. So, someone like my appa. Min-jae blinked. Wait, what? Do-yoon shrugged. Appa's brave. He raised me alone. He even confessed to someone first in high school. That's, like, ultimate bravery. Min-jae went silent. And Hyunwoo smiled. Just barely. But it lingered. Do-yoon, blissfully unaware, turned the page. Last one. What would make you jealous? Min-jae froze. Hyunwoo set his pencil down. I think that's more of a grown-up question. Do-yoon pouted. Fine. I'll skip it. But you guys have to answer privately. He stood and skipped off, quiz in hand, muttering, this is totally going in my scrapbook. Alone now, Min-jae dared to ask. Would you get jealous, he said, too casual. Hyunwoo didn't look at him. But his voice was quiet when he answered. Yes. Min-jae's heart kicked. Of what? Hyunwoo finally looked at him. And this time, his eyes didn't waver. Of anyone who gets to stand where I couldn't. Back then. A pause. Or now. The room felt smaller. Quieter. Like the breath between 2 almost kisses. But neither of them leaned in. Not yet. Because the next step had to mean something. Min-jae didn't show up at the door that Saturday. He messaged Hyunwoo earlier, hey. Do-yoon's with his aunt tonight. No class. Take the evening off. Simple. Distant. Polite. And yet, Hyunwoo stood outside his building anyway. Umbrella in hand. A bag of leftover pastries from a cafe Min-jae once said he liked. And a heart that refused to stay quiet. It wasn't raining this time. But it felt like it could, like the clouds were holding their breath just like he was. When the door finally opened, Min-jae looked surprised. Not upset. Just tired. like he'd been fighting his own head all day. "Thought I told you we were off tonight," he said. "You did," Hyunwoo replied, lifting the bag slightly. "But I brought something for the rain that didn't happen." Min-jae stepped aside wordlessly. "Let him in." The apartment was quieter without Do-yoon's running feet. Still warm, though. Lived in. Like Min-jae himself. They sat on the couch this time, not the floor. A little closer than usual. But neither mentioned it. They sipped tea and picked at flaky pastries, and for a long time, said nothing at all, until Min-jae broke the silence with a whisper, "I've been trying not to want this." Hyunwoo turned his head slowly. Min-jae's voice was low, raw. "You were my first love. You disappeared, and I convinced myself I imagined it all." "You didn't," Hyunwoo said. "I know. That's the problem." A beat passed. 2. Then Min-jae asked, "If I kissed you right now, would it ruin everything?" Hyunwoo's voice was barely above a breath. "No." And then they both moved at once. Not a crash. Not a dramatic pull. Just two people meeting halfway. A kiss that was years in the making, soft, aching, real. The kind that says I missed you and I never stopped wanting this and don't go again, all without a single word. When they finally pulled apart, Min-jae didn't open his eyes. He just leaned forward, forehead resting against Hyunwoo's. And whispered, "Let us stop running from it." Outside, the rain finally came. But this time, it didn't interrupt anything. It carried it. Morning came softly. No alarm. No rush. Just pale sunlight slipping through the curtains and the quiet breath of two people no longer pretending. Min-jae woke first. Hyunwoo was still asleep, curled on the other end of the couch, head resting on a throw pillow, glasses set aside. Between them sat a half-empty teacup, a blanket tossed carelessly over their laps, and something invisible that had finally been given permission to stay. Min-jae watched him for a moment. And smiled. Not the guarded smile he wore at work, or the polite one for the world outside. But a quiet one just for himself. For them. When Hyunwoo stirred, blinking slowly awake, his voice was low and scratchy with sleep. "Did I dream it?" Min-jae's reply was simple. "No." They didn't talk about labels or timelines. Not yet. But when Hyunwoo made breakfast without being asked, and Min-jae handed him coffee like he'd done it 100 times dash, the silence between them felt easy, new, and full of possibility. Later that afternoon, Do-yoon returned from his aunt's house with a paper crown on his head and a sticker-covered backpack. He froze when he saw Hyunwoo still there. Eyes wide. "Did Mr. Lee sleep over?" Min-jae choked on his tea. Hyunwoo coughed once, looking away. "Just because of the rain," he said. Do-yoon raised a suspicious eyebrow. "I'm sure. Because of the rain." He dropped his bag and plopped onto the couch with exaggerated drama. "Adults are so weird. Just tell each other you like each other already." Min-jae and Hyunwoo both paused. Then exchanged a glance. And laughed, the kind that breaks tension without breaking truth. Later that night, Do-yoon crawled into Min-jae's lap, unusually quiet. "Appa, if Mr. Lee was someone you liked a long time ago, does that mean he might leave again?" Min-jae's breath caught. And Hyunwoo, sitting nearby, looked up fast. "No," Min-jae said firmly. "Not this time." He met Hyunwoo's gaze. "He knows how to stay now." Hyunwoo didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Because he meant it? And Min-jae finally believed him. The seasons had shifted. Leaves were turning gold, fluttering outside the window like whispered promises. The days were getting shorter, the nights longer. And somewhere between math worksheets and shared glances, Min-jae had let someone back in. Not just into his apartment, but into his life. Into the version of himself he had carefully hidden away. Hyunwoo didn't ask for anything. Not even a label. He showed up every Tuesday and Thursday like always. Only now, sometimes he stayed late. Sometimes he helped wash dishes. Sometimes he kissed Min-jae's temple when Do-yoon wasn't looking. And sometimes, Min-jae kissed him back even when he was. One evening, Do-yoon was building a paper city in the living room, muttering something about emergency dinosaur drills, while Min-jae stirred soup at the stove. Hyunwoo leaned against the counter, arms folded, eyes soft. "You look happy," he said. Min-jae turned. "Is that weird?" Hyunwoo shook his head. "It's beautiful." There was a pause. The kind where you could either say something risky, or say nothing at all. Min-jae chose risk. "I used to think love was something that happened all at once," he said. "Like a fall. Sudden. Uncontrollable." He glanced up. "But now I think it's a choice. A quiet one. Every day." Hyunwoo didn't respond with words. He stepped forward, brushed a hand against Min-jae's cheek, and kissed him. Not with urgency, but with reverence. That night, Do-yoon added a new drawing to the fridge, a messy scribble of 3 stick figures holding hands. Underneath, in crayon, he'd written, "Our family." Min-jae stared at it for a long time. Then smiled. Because sometimes love doesn't come crashing in. Sometimes, it walks in quietly. Takes off its shoes. And stays. The end. Sometimes, love doesn't come crashing in like thunder. Sometimes, it starts with a flyer in the rain. And ends with someone finally staying.